Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another incredible Creature Preacher model to take a look at, and not only that, we've got ourselves a brand new Kaiju model from Creature Preacher, which is even cooler. But we have the X from Outer Space Guilala, and it's a very interesting kaiju. Definitely not the best kaiju movie that we ever had, that's for sure, but it is an exceptionally obscure kaiju. However, you can see if you are familiar with that film, it's definitely a little bit different looking than you see in the film, because as we can see, Creature Preacher has added his own personal touch to it to create something that honestly, in my opinion, looks so much better than what you actually saw in the film. Like, if this were what Guilala looked like in the film, I feel like people might have liked the movie a little bit better, because even though it's not the worst thing in the world, I do enjoy the movie, but it's definitely lower on my totem pole as far as kaiju movies go. But this design is absolutely incredible. Like, such a really cool looking version of this kaiju, and he's also done a great job of adding in a lot of really nice paintwork to this, making it look also way better than what you actually see in the X from Outer Space. Or even the sequel, of course, which was Monster X Strikes Back, Attack the G8 Summit, if you haven't seen that movie. But again, it's a really cool model. Definitely something I'm hyped to have here to take a look at with you guys, of a very obscure kaiju we really don't get models of. So let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our X from Outer Space, you can see straight away it looks incredibly cool, and also, again, so much better than the creature actually looks in the film. But he's also added, on top of the really nice sculpt, some really nice paint, as we have all sorts of green coloration here on the face, all sorts of variations of greens. You can also see that we've got a nice dark wash. We've also got browns present. Definitely a lot of coloration going on here on the face of this kaiju. You can also see the eyes have that, almost at this point, again, Creature Preacher classic sort of trademark metallic sort of coloration to it, which looks really cool. You often find some form of a metallic coloration on a Creature Preacher model. Not all the time, but it is something that you see often, which I really quite like, almost like his calling card. But you can again see how much cooler this design is than the actual Guilala from the film. I really feel like this just looks so much cooler, so much more intimidating than what the actual creature looks like in the film. And you can also see again that the sculpt and paint is phenomenal on this particular take of the creature from Creature Preacher. Again, there's just so many different variations of color. I'm always just blown away by how cool the paint jobs of a Creature Preacher model is, and absolutely the same case here. But as you lead down the back, you can see we've got some really cool looking kind of spines here on the back of the model. I love that he's painted those out with some reddish tones, and also given those sort of a metallic look there to them, making them stand out and shine very nicely. The skin texture as a whole looks great, pretty much exactly as I would expect on a kaiju, and especially, a kaiju created in Japan. So that as well looks really cool. I love how he's highlighted the face with those lighter greens. You can see here moving along the back, we do have some variations of those lighter greens in the lower part of the body, but the large majority of the upper part of the body has darker variations of colors, even including bluish tones. But as you lead up into the face, you can see the face stands out really nicely because of those really nice light greens. As you move down the course of the front of the model, though, you can see more of those light greens picking up. You can also see incredibly cool looking detailing as you move through. There's honestly so much going on with this model. It's kind of hard to pick up on it and actually mention each and everything. It's just so impressive how much effort and work was put into this incredibly cool kaiju model. You can also see here as we lead down, we've got some more of those reddish tones leading around the upper part of the arm, and as you lead into the arm, on top of the really nice texturing and nice muscle definition, you see more of that green picking up, really shining. I love the variations of green that he's applied to this. And you can see just even right here, there's two different shades of green, just showing you that Creature Preacher always tries to give you so much for the money that you spend on his models. Definitely wants to give you the best possible product. But you can see as we lead out into the hands are massive, first of all, very intimidating when it comes to the appearance of the hands. The fingers also look great. You can even kind of like make out the knuckles as you move along, and you can also see the nails are sculpted very nicely and painted nicely, but you can even see within the nails there is some nice fine detail, kind of like cracks and crevices, and the nails are painted with a reddish tone. And as you lead down here into the undersides of the hands and the palms of the hands, you can see more incredible sculpt, and you can also see again more incredible paint as he's got all kinds of variation of color, even bluish tones, picking up more of those greens, darker kind of black or dark grayish tones, just tons and tons of coloration, as well as phenomenal sculpt and detail. As you move down, you can also see, of course, the same thing here for the opposing hand and the inside of the hands. But as you move down a little bit further, you see more, again, blues and everything picking up, more greens as you lead down here along the underside of the model. You can also see the very muscular looking thighs of our X from outer space. You can also make out the knee, and you can see that we have kind of like some spikes there, or like some form of like ridges they're picking up and leading out of the knee. I would definitely call them spikes more than ridges, leading out of the knees. And then as you lead down, you have kind of like a claw leading off of the back of the leg, and then of course the claws leading along the foot. You can even see more bluish tones here down in the foot of the Guilala, and again, more really nice paintwork with even some more of those light greens showing up, just really jumping off of the paint job of this. Like, it really shines with those gorgeous greens, but I really am a big fan of those bluish tones as well. But as you continue to lead along, you lead out into the tail, you do see more of those greenish tones picking up, more of the bluish tones, more of the reddish tones, tons and tons of color variation. But you see as we lead out, we've got a really big, massive tail. And we lead out here including more of that kind of metallic coloration that you see again on Creature Preacher models, and I think that looks super cool. Again, just adding that calling card as he always does, but you can see again it's absolutely phenomenal when it comes to both the sculpt and paintwork. Like I said, there's just so much going on with this, it's almost intimidating to try to mention everything on the sculpt. So I think this review is going to mostly be commenting on as many things as I can, with you primarily taking it all in for yourself, because there's just so much going on. I'd be here forever if I were to try to stand here and point out every little detail of this, because there's just so much incredible sculpt and paintwork added to it. But when it comes to an X from outer space, I've never seen one that's as cool looking as this. I don't think I'll ever see one cooler looking than this. He really did an incredible job on this, not only on the sculpt, the general appearance, but also, of course, the paintwork. And it's actually really quite sizable. It may be the largest model that I've ever acquired from Creature Preacher. There's a very good chance of that. But absolutely another home run for Creature Preacher. I am completely in love with this model. As I mentioned a moment ago, this is a large model. Very large. For a height to the top here of our model, I would say around 10¼ inches, or about 26 centimeters. So that definitely shows you it's got some pretty impressive height to it. But also, as far as a length, I really don't even know where to go from. I don't know if I should go, I guess, from the snout to the tail. I almost feel like I should go from the hands to the tail, but you are looking at lengthwise, and this is a pretty rough measurement because I can't get a perfect shot of this, but I would say about 13½ about 13½ inches, or around 34½ somewhere in that vicinity, centimeters. So really showing you it's quite large. And to further show you that for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our absolutely gigantic X from Outer Space Guilala. And you can see it is huge. Like I said, definitely one of, if not the largest model that I have from Creature Preacher up until this point. I really don't think any of the other models that I have are quite as large as this. So very impressive in pretty much every aspect, honestly. You've got incredible paint, incredible sculpt, and an incredible size. And to continue to show you how impressive the size is, here is a Mattel Dilophosaurus and Velociraptor next to the Guilala. Next to this, you can see how small the Raptor and Dilophosaurus look. Like, so much tinier. Again, showing you that this has a very big size to it. And to continue to show you, now we have the Crater Lake Monster, also from Creature Preacher, and look how much smaller that is next to the X from Outer Space. Like, it's crazy how much smaller that Crater Lake Monster is. Really, again, showing you that he stepped it up a bit when it comes to the size department for this model. And another large model from Creature Preacher would be the Land That Time Forgot series of theropods, and you can see that the Ceratosaurus is also, again, smaller than our X from Outer Space, our Guilala. So you can see that the X from Outer Space, yet again, towers over even the Ceratosaurus. And here is the size comparison I was really interested in seeing. I wasn't sure if this Land That Time Forgot plesiosaur was going to be taller than our X from Outer Space, but as it turns out, it is a little bit taller. However, as far as the overall, body and length and everything goes, I would definitely say the Guilala is still probably the largest model from Creature Preacher that I have, even if the plesiosaur here is a little bit taller. I think the body mass is made up here as far as the size goes, and we'd have to go and give that to the Guilala. So this Creature Preacher X from Outer Space is another incredibly cool kaiju model from Creature Preacher. He has created some really neat stuff, especially when it comes to kaiju models, which this, I believe, is my third or fourth kaiju now from Creature Preacher, which is really cool to actually start to have a pretty decent kaiju collection now from him, and especially considering the fact that he makes some of the most unique kaiju models you'll ever see, and definitely some of the coolest models you'll see, because he goes and creates, of course, often models of kaiju that you don't see often. Like, you don't get tons of, even though I love Godzilla, don't get me wrong, but you don't get a whole lot of Godzilla and stuff from Creature Preacher, because he kind of tries to create stuff outside of that. Like, he creates things like, we looked at the Project Nemesis not long ago. We had Baragon, and yes, Baragon is featured in Godzilla, which I'm okay with, but I'm saying Godzilla specifically. I would love to see lots of other models of different kaiju from Godzilla films created by Creature Preacher, like a Varan. I would love to see that, or a Titanosaurus, or there's just a plethora of other underappreciated kaiju from the Godzilla franchise I would love to see. But we also had tons of other obscure creatures created by Creature Preacher, not even just kaiju, like the sleeping dragon from Monsters and stuff, for example. So that shows you that, again, when it comes to a Creature Preacher release, he's always going to give you the model that you probably least expect to get, which in my opinion is always the best possible outcome, because it gives you the chance to collect stuff that you normally wouldn't have the chance to collect. And that's definitely the same case for this incredibly cool Guilala model. Like, it looks phenomenal, so much cooler than the design actually looks in the film, miles better, and the sculpt looks great all over the place. You can see the detailing is out of this world. There's just so much insanely impressive sculpt and detail through the entire model, so much so that I was almost flabbergasted trying to take a closer look at it there, and it was honestly hard to pick up on everything that's going on with the model just because there is so much going on, further showing you how impressive as a whole the sculpt is. And as always, he's added some of the coolest paintwork I could imagine to it, with all sorts of variations of greens, blues, reds, metallic tones, that calling card of Creature Preacher, just tons and tons of color variation, as he always does, and that, as always, in my opinion, creates the most realistic and lifelike visual for the skin and coloration of the creature. I really think he does a great job of adding in so much variation of color with really nice, really smooth transitions. He's done a lot of really nice dry brushing on this one to kind of highlight the detail in a really beautiful way, adding dark washes and stuff, just amping up the realism by a mile. And of course, the thing is huge, so that's always a huge plus as well. But honestly, this is another incredible release. I have yet to be anything but blown away by every Creature Preacher release I've acquired so far, and clearly with this Guilala, that trend is going to continue. So if you are interested in picking this up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to the Creature Preacher Etsy shop, where you can head on over there right now and grab this, along with tons of other Creature Preacher models that he has available currently. So make sure you check out all of the social media accounts of Creature Preacher, which I will include in the link in the description. And of course, purchase yourself some of his amazing models today, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.